Welcome everyone, this is Nichel Anderson. I'm your host for my podcast show, Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is my season 6 of season podcasting, and we're going to talk about episode 63. It's going to be entitled Queen Hagar Enters the Realm of Orion. So we have a lot to kind of cover right quick, and then we're going to get into this particular episode. I did mention earlier this year of 2022 that I'm going to be start doing my monthly podcast releases instead of the bi-monthly. So if you're just joining me, the last release was last month because due to my projects that I'm working on, I just want to be able to make sure that I have enough time to get that out. And I always like to do, what I say. And if you go back to my very first podcast when I podcasted six seasons ago, and I was doing it weekly, I just like to be consistent. So from then to now, I have been consistent on that. From weekly to bi-weekly to now monthly. So at any rate, I do encourage you to go back and check my other episodes. And if you love it, please share it. So let's go ahead and kind of touch on some other things. I do have another podcast show that I like to cover, that's Surviving Your Journey Towards Success, about motivation. And it's for your personal and your work life. Do check that out and follow and share that. And I'm going to have another announcement, or at least have that rolled out, where I'm going to be packaging up my audio previous podcast episodes into one. So if you like one of my short stories, do look out for that, where you can purchase that and you can have a streamline that is from part 1, part 2, part 3, or episode 1 all the way to episode 26 or what have you. You can be able to purchase that. All right. I do have an expanded brand. I have MOLIAE Beauty. It focuses on men and women skincare, and it's for the healing of the skin, beautifying it, amplifying it, as well. It has aromatherapy as well. So do check out MOLIAEbeauty.com, and of course MOLIAE.com. You can definitely get some t-shirts. I do have my NFT collection. It is the Pyramid Mystery Temple Reunion, and we're coming out with a MOLIAE token where you can actually purchase that, have that on the blockchain, and then you can purchase my merchandise of MOLIAE. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this, where we are going to cover this particular episode and to talk about what happened last episode. That was in Atlantis, episode part 8, entitled We Are Amongst the Truth Seekers of Akuni, where the trial vote was underway. Those that were responsible for Matune's previous disappearance, now he's returned back home to the capital of Atlantis. He's resting. Now, at that particular time, his younger twin siblings, as Arinte and Maketa, is with others of higher echelon of leaders and diplomats around the globe, around Tamat, as well as other galaxies, coming to make this vote of those that were responsible, their fate there. It is going to be to the sense that the judgment was made against Matune's wife. It was evidence that she was a part of that as well, to basically overthrow and to have her as a new leader on that region that he ruled, which is the north of Atlantis. Okay, so definitely take that as a very dramatic type episode. I hope you enjoy that, and if you love it, share it. And so today we're going to talk about episode 63, which is entitled, Queen Hagar Enters the Realm of Orion, and this is going to have a lot of layers to it. I'm just going to do the episode, do the director clip note of that like I usually do, to kind of break that down in more detail. If you're just joining me, my director clip notes gives you an opportunity where I'm really breaking down each of the part of the scene of the podcast episode of the short story, and I give you some insights. I give you like some things that you probably didn't know, and I always end up sharing something new and interesting, because I'm able to kind of take a breath from my writing and really, like drinking tea and with someone and just having lunch, and we're talking about the story, and I'm able to kind of really enjoy what I created. Create the story in a sense that it's just flowing through, like water, and then I get busy and stuff like that. So this gives me an opportunity to kind of sit back and be so grateful for what I'm blessed with to write these stories, and I'm able to really indulge on myself and enjoy it, like, a nice cup of tea with, good friends. And so anyhow, so I do do look for something additional, like a bonus breakdown, because Queen Hagar, she's a mother of Princess Hannah and Princess Amina, right? I also want to say that Queen Hagar, there's a little joke going on. In the first episode when I started this podcast, I revealed in episode 2 she was pregnant. She's still pregnant, y'all, because the title of the whole series, in a sense, is Before the Time of Princess Amina, so she can't be pregnant yet, which I haven't decided, or it hasn't really came through that that's actually Princess Amina she's pregnant with. But nonetheless, she's still pregnant. But this right here is something about Orion. You're going to get some clues on that, and it revealed itself like 2 seasons ago, particularly on season 1. Season 1, like I said, you got to read the director clip on that, how I explained how I just came about with it. And she spoke in Orion language, which was new to me, because when I wrote over in my book, Mitzrayim, a memoir of a past life in ancient Egypt, I didn't really realize that. So it came through the podcast, where it's going to be layers to this. So, like I said, it's going to be some clues. It's going to be something that you haven't heard before. Her mother is there, Queen Mother Mammy, and her father is there, King Milan. All the Akuni brothers are there on this mega starship. They're going to Orion because they need to speak on the behalf of their point of view. Since General Hanee is not in Orion or on the council anymore, we need to at least talk about that in the sense of who we think would be best, or what would be the best option. So we're trying to show influence in a way that they would consider, because the balance of power is always important when you're dealing with this type of high elite status that can impact many people. All right, that's what we're going to do. And again, I'm definitely going to do, like I said, a backup bonus talking about this episode and the different parts with it, because it really opened up a lot when it came through and seeing these images. So yeah, Queen Hagar definitely has a connection to Orion. That's basically what I'm getting at. So with all that done and said, let's go ahead and get into this as we wrap up 2022 year with a MOLIAE short story. Let's do this. Let's begin for my season 6, 2022 to 2023. For this week of my podcast show, Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond. For this week episode 63, entitled Queen Hagar Enters the Realm of Orion. Opening scene. Princess Hannah is resting in the arms of Queen Hagar. Hagar wore a long white linen dress with a sapphire belt, strap layering near her belly, that was still the term of a new yet birth and womb. Walking into the royal quarters of Princess Hannah was Queen Hagar's mother, Queen Mother Mamie, dressed in a brown and yellow tani dress, draped to the floor with matching allure of her crown, moved in motion to her Nubian-spiraled tight hair curls, followed them while holding with layers of blankets of ribbons laced with gemstones. They arrived from earlier outing near the east side of their vast palace. Princess Hannah was playing with the nearby children, Mitzrayim. In Princess Hannah's room was an 8th-level overlooking column opening to the ground gardens, and a waterfall in stream of the Nile with the distant and new pyramids afar, not known to many as it was on a secret entrance further up into the royal palace of the royal family. Princess Hannah had a playtime with the locals' Mitzrayim, and she fell asleep during the rest periods. Her hair was braided in loops of Nubian curls as her linen and emerald blue colored dress nestled around down to her feet, wearing her gold sandals. Queen Mother Mamie reached for Princess Hannah from Queen Hagar's arm and laid her down in her war chase that she favored. And Queen Mother Mamie layered the blankets of fine linen near her as of the Sioux in the horizon started to rest, and there afar from the floor-length windows of the royal Abbas palace. Just then, a royal female attendant entered and stated that many others of the Royal Court of Union had adjourned for an immediate meeting with the Akuni that had just arrived. Queen Mother Memi nodded and informed Queen Hagar it must be of what is going on with the Orion leadership due to that General Hanee, and that they need to be present in this abrupt discussions. Meanwhile, in the royal dining room, there was King Milan, Taha of his first court officer, and Grandfather Elder Tahib Tukkan, the first-rank advisor, and then the ex-general. Tukkan, the first-rank advisor, now the first-rank advisor, and the ex-general of Mitzrayim, now with his son, the general of Mitzrayim, Tata, was present as well, along with the Akuni brothers. Young Daniy'el was in the other royal chambers that traveled with his father, Nergal. The young Daniy'el, that will be a future king of Kodesh, was assigned attendants and guards as he played with morals and other royal children that were cousins to Princess Hannah from Ethiopia. King Milan said, "We have to be present in this urgent galactical position of reason to speak on the matters of whom they will lead, to take General Hanee's position, as he is still missing and we all know the ones that force him out will strike again." Enlil said, "Sure, I agree. The matters at hand stretch far in the region of the Orion skies, with other diplomats attending this event. I am set to depart as one of the intermediaries, as we see that General Hanee had once then a major voting power of 80. Nergal said agreed as well. "If we all go there, is a need to speak to their main leader, Orion. But many have said he is hard to get the attention of or into those discussions." Grandfather Tahib said, "It needs to be a mediator, one that will show favor to either side as it appears, but rather present a way to best present the best way that would be possible for Tamat, and a voice of reason that whoever take this place General Hanee had now opened up, either willingly or unwillingly, will be an important factor to the relations in this galactical reason and of the season before us. As to force it is seeming it's you, King Milan. There has to be someone that will present our influence that will lead to an outing that everyone is in peace. We have to connect with him. We might have our differences or what have you, but this particular role is going to matter for future generations." She is a ruler of Nichel, also present in the royal room, southwest of the Sudan, what will soon be called the Congo, speaks. "I think someone, either you, King Milan, or the tribal lead brothers that are loyal to you, be the one to speak to this Orion, often known called as Tekel, as reasoning to know their decisions is vital at this moment. It is not that word has surfaced that Natu would be anything free. We know they would send him back here to finish what he did before, so we need to talk to the Orion ruler, their own king of their domain. We need to find out what can we do to influence him to make sure that on the Unkeno council that it is a just, righteous person. If there's any that we can say of the Orions, but nonetheless, it has to be someone that can be able to speak of what we've been going through. The disloyalty among the tribal brothers has spanned so far. After the war, we deserve a helping hand in who that's going to be going forward in any negotiations." Everyone nodded. The four sisters of Eastern, which was in future generations would be Algeria, was there as well. And they all nodded in agreement, speaking to the truth of what must be present as a voice of Tamat in this upcoming galactical meeting. Suddenly, there was an interest that we can hear the noise come in, and everyone looked over, and there it was Queen Hagar, entering into the chambers, hearing them speak of this meeting in their skies of Orion. Before they could speak, she does, with confidence and calmness. I will go. Orion will speak with me of this matter. King Hagar said. Everyone nodded and agreed, as King Milan beamed of Hagar afar. Orion, the most known that Taker, will speak to me. Later, in what would be equivalent to 7 days of their spew, the galactical Akuni starship docks in the deep skies of the Order of Orion for the major galactical discussions to who will take Hanee's position on the Unkeno of power. It was also spoken of that Natu was released on certain conditions, as the all voted needed to confine was not as Hanee, as he was not there to take his vote. Thus another leader was needed at that time. With so many diplomats present walking into the realm of skies for this meeting and discussion to whom it would be, the representatives of Tamat of Mitzrayim started to lift their shield to proceed inward into this area that will be of discussion. Mostly those looked in awe of the Nubians walking in and coverings entering the east ring of this hyper sky level building. They sat down in their assigned seats, and moments later the hardly seen main ruler of them that rules Orion skies, their own ruler and the planets therein, entered. Some knew him as Taker, but they called him Orion. That he has a strong masculine energy and larger than self type atmosphere of the personality rung through as the courting waters that surrounded them in the secret location on their far north of a top half planet in the galaxy of Orion. His eyes bolden as his eldered hair and a bald and lace around his mixed race of reptilian, Aeon, and a future hybrid of a being emerged to sit on his commanding throne. Hardly anyone saw him, often as he stayed hidden, and the Unkeno Council took care of matters on his behalf or others in the power region, unless things as this balance needed to be called for in order. The adjoining meeting of the disappearance of one of the Unkeno members, General Hanee, were the top issue at hand. It was about to start when someone of his official advisor whispered in his ear of a special guest from Tamat. He slowly smiled, but held back his full expression from the view of over 8,298 attendants watching his every move. The lights from the 20 moons above was instructed to showcase the long pathway to where he sat as the invited guests on either side of that pathway. They slowly turned to see who would be entering. Meanwhile, on the Akuni Mitzrayim starship, Queen Mother Mami, with Grandfather Tahib, King Milan, and Nichel Nergal, and his young son Daniy'el, future King of Kodesh. King Kohan of Zimbabwe was there as well, and 50 other guards and diplomats from the royal court. They in itself stayed on the starship, as only a few, along with Queen Hagar. Grandfather Tahib spoke. "This would be the closest Orion has to see you again, my love." He turned to look at his wife. Queen Mother Mami responded and said, "Sure, he will rule nonetheless in righteousness, and not of any other uncompromising reign." Grandfather Tahib spoke. "His love of you was still there. See, he would do what he needs to do and listen to wisdom." Back on the planet that housing this large gathering of galactical leaders, it was over 20 feet tall with silver and chalk columns open to the open area they could see afar, and a flush of moonlight, Kingo waves, and energy of the waxing moon flowered in that everyone immediately stood up as the doors opened. Queen Hagar enters with a roar of garments of silver shimmering and gold lined with emeralds, of a gold dress with correlated with gemstones on her breastplate from Mitzrayim. She wore her Mitzray queen crown that rose, exposing her Nubian coral rays of the Nile back on Tamat. Walked in with 24 other guards of Mitzray from Pleiadians. As eyes were on her of this moment, she nodded to Orion, and those around knew they were speaking telepathically. Hagar looked around, and her Mitzray crown glistened and sparkled of the thousands of gemstones married with each other, all in illusion. She spoke. My name in Orion is Akuni Nergal King, Queen Hagar of Mitzrayim, from the planet Tamat, and daughter of Queen Mother Memi and Elder Akuni Tahi. I am married to King Malan of Akuni. Thus, with great heart and position of authority, I seek a moment to declare the position of rule that the next roll into the Akuni Council be of peace that we all seek. The peace that we all deserve after that New England war, years of drought and despair, that the person selected today or thereafter of this afar would be of righteousness. For I and my King Malan have experienced the deeds of those that more than so are sitting here amongst that left as such a treacherous scar of unjust, that with the royalty of me I remain and sustain my anger amongst them. She looked around, and there was silence, and spoke. And them, she looked around to her right, and them. Powerful silence engulfed the room. Over 8,000 attendants there. She spoke again. We and I might be of your species in the dinat abad of our being, but we have a heart, and thus the balance of power and decisions must be upheld to the highest, as we are still looking for those that started the upheaval amongst our people. The disloyalty among the tribal leaders of the Sudan. No justice yet. She leaned her head to the side and looked around again, and turned around and looked at all of those eyes looking back at her, and then she spoke. But we have patience that anything is possible. The power of one can be mighty. She started to speak in their language. Many stood up in awe of her mastery of their language of Orion. Iknake no ada, etalatawa, esta no, anatane elnui, anuntala, ega, alatalas alsusa. Translation: It is not humble to be grateful for those that fed you, to be respected in preserving the peace that they seek. Many more stood and clapped as she proceeded now towards the remaining steps pathway, towards Orion that was sitting on his throne, and he was standing before the moment passed as Queen Hagar made her way towards him. Queen Hagar spoke. I asked the great Orion, others know him at take you. So nice to see you again, she said, that only he could hear. On this unwelcome event, due to General Hanee's disappearance and a forthcoming vote, I ask you of the rule of Mitzrayim, as she raised her voice so others can hear. On Tamad, that we speak in private of our thoughts before your forthcoming event therein, of the votes of who it will be. Ruler William spoke. You may. He motioned his guards, and Queen Hagar walked in front as Woon followed. About the half of the guards with Queen Hagar stood in attention around the throne of Orion, and everyone in the audience watched in awe. Moments later, with just the two of them walking to his chambers and their attendants and guards closely behind, they speak telepathically. Orion said, I am so mourning of what you have been through. Queen Hagar responded, I am aware it was not of your ruler decisions, but the decision of the Unkeno council member. We learned of Echo and Natu, as well as this Lanko later after the war. Orion responded and nodded. I am interested in what you know and to say of this forthcoming vote, to whom it shall be. Queen Hagar responded, will it matter when all of this is done between our talks? She stopped, and he stopped as well, and they looked at one another as his elder years continued to flow of his years of ruling. And remember when she was a little girl, learning the culture and language that seemed to engulf her as one of that experience, to now speak it so well as a native. Wayun responded and said, it may. The forces that wants to cause harm to you and your people are weary of no major winds and tiring out. General Hanee had more support underground of the Optites people. Queen Hagar said, oh yes, I remember them. And the migration to land always was their pursuit. I can see if they felt that General Hanee could compromise and help them. Wayun responded, and he started to continue to back walking as Queen Hagar followed, and they walked side by side, heading to the Royal Orion King Chambers, which just a few more feet away. Wayun said, I must ask, how is your mother, Queen Mother Mimi? Queen Hagar smiled. She is of whole of Espu. Wayun replied, still beautiful. I am around. Queen Hagar turned to look at him for a moment and smiled. Wayun was about to open the doorway to his Royal Chambers meeting that adjoined with his high guards, did so for them and motioned them in. Wayun said, and I see you are with child. It is a blessed soul. Queen Hagar nodded and rubbed her belly and said, assure. Indeed. They entered his Royal King meeting chambers, and 10 other guards and advisors also as well, and stood afar. Queen Hagar turned to the floor-length window that showed both the underwaters and the skies above in Orion, as the oval-shaped room hummed a particular melody that she remembered as a child. Wayun stood next to her, and then she said, I know this time is not of easiness for those that have to decide on this major decision, but although in ruling over a kingdom or planet, choices matter because it impacts so many. And that's why I am here, my husband is here, my family, and those of the Akuni. Wayun nodded as he looked down for a moment and looked straight out as well. Then Queen Hagar said, still looking forward into the abyss before them, spoke in his Orion language. Ukina rask na asata ne baluna lila yukina aya puna na ala ne sekala tuwe aza enabana unumpi asao waza alonona unutu Translation: we seek you to select a strong, balanced leader on the Unkeno Council. And I seek peace as the calming waters beg us to do so before us. Hear it. End scene.